We all get excited about new recruits, but then we have to wait a couple years before we see them. We're going to look and see which freshmen in the Big Ten will have a big impact this year.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. Thanks for checking us out. And of course, thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're going to scour the Big Ten for freshmen that might step up right away and play. And then we're going to have some fun and go back in time and remember some of the greatest freshman years in the history of the Big Ten. I got a list of 5 guys I want to share with you, so hang around for that, and then we'll close it out with our Pigskin Picks. Be sure to subscribe and follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way, you'll get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Let's jump in it. There's a handful of freshmen. A lot of them are redshirt freshmen. That's just part of the deal now with college football, with each and every team. Start you off with Ohio State. There is a freshman that will be very important. Now, that's center Carson Hinsman. He's a redshirt freshman. He's 6'4", 300 pounds. He's from Hammond, Wisconsin. And he practiced with the first team at times last year. And, of course, center is a big job. He's got that high-powered Ohio State offense. He's making the line calls, snap counts, the whole deal. And remember, Kyle McCord behind him, going to be a brand-new quarterback. So the center of that powerful Ohio State offense is going to be all new right at the beginning as they open up their season against Indiana. That's going to be a very important spot to keep a look at, but I think ultimately he gets a few snaps, a few games under his belt. He'll be just fine. As far as the Michigan Wolverines, are there any freshmen that will crack that starting lineup? No. They are experienced, and they are older and mature, and they're ready to go. However, the strong safety backup, Barry Zeke, played a couple of games last year. He's got backup nickel next to him with Cody Jones, played in 4 games. Both are redshirt freshmen. Maybe they'll get to see some time. Their backup kicker is Adam Samaha from Huron High School in Ypsilanti, Michigan. That's about it. Not a lot of young guys are going to be having any impact on this Michigan football team this year. How about Penn State? Redshirt freshman Caden Saunders. He's a punt returner. He appeared at 3 games last year. He's actually got a day named after him in his hometown of Westerville, Ohio. You know, that's outside of Columbus. So I'm really not sure how the Buckeyes let him go, but he's at Penn State now. Get a little bit of action. They have a second-string true freshman at right tackle, Alex Burkmeyer. He's 6'5", 301 from Ashburn, Virginia. And he was highly sought after. Penn State, glad to have him. He picked Penn State over Georgia, Notre Dame, and Ohio State. So those are some pretty good schools that wanted his services. So Burkmeyer is at Penn State. We'll watch his growth chart. At Iowa, they got a second-string wide receiver. He's a transfer redshirt freshman from Ohio State, Caleb Brown. I always keep an eye on those extra guys that leave Ohio State, particularly wide receiver. They're very good. They're always very deep at wide receiver. If a guy leaves, maybe they just want enough footballs for him. So he's somebody I want to keep an eye on. And remember, he's going to have Cade McNamara throwing to him. So an upgrade at quarterback for Iowa this year. They have backups in the secondary, including 3 redshirt freshmen. You might need to keep an eye on at Iowa, but otherwise that defense is pretty solid. Shouldn't have to rely on those young guys unless they have an attrition or an injury problem of some sort. Wisconsin's got a few freshmen that they're going to have to rely on. They have a left guard who's a backup, Joe Brunner, 6'5", 315-pound redshirt freshman from Milwaukee. He played in 4 games last year on the offensive line and on special teams, and I think he's going to get a lot more snaps this year. At quarterback, they're set with Tanner Mordecai, all set for Luke Fickell, but his backup, in case Mordecai has any kind of problems, is Braden Locke. He's a redshirt freshman, transfer from Mississippi State, like the guy wanted to play in the offense of Mike Leach. Sadly, Mike Leach no longer with us, so Locke decided to move on. and now he is at Wisconsin. They got a backup nose tackle, Kurt Neal, a 300-pounder. He's a redshirt freshman. Might get into the rotation a little bit. Somebody to keep an eye on maybe next year as well. And both backup corners at Wisconsin, Jonas DeClona and Jake Arnold, both are true freshmen. So if injuries are a problem in the secondary, that could be a problem for Wisconsin. By the way, DeClona, 7 career interceptions at Naples High School, just around the corner from where I live. So we'll see how he does. Michigan State, this is the first one. You know, we kind of build this up, like who's going to be an impactful freshman, or who's just trying to get some snaps, or who's just going to try and play. Well, Michigan State has a freshman that I want to keep, a redshirt freshman I want to keep an eye on. As backup wide receiver, Antonio Gates Jr. Yes, that Antonio Gates, his father played all those years for the Chargers. And, you know, his dad was a late bloomer. His dad was undrafted out of Kent State, played 15 years in the NFL, was all pro for 3 years, was in 8 Pro Bowls, was on the 2000s all-decade team in the NFL, all from a guy that was undrafted. So here's his son, who was one of the best receivers in high school in the Detroit area, and now he's going to go be a redshirt freshman for Michigan State. Look for him. I put his picture on a thumbnail, those of you watching on the video on YouTube. That's who's on the cover of that. So that's a guy I'm very interested in. We all know that Noah Kim is going to get his shot at quarterback at Michigan State. Caden Hauser, the backup, is a redshirt freshman. He's only thrown 1 career pass, or only completed 1 career pass. So if Kim goes down with an injury, there could be a problem at quarterback at Michigan State. Their punter and their holder, Ryan Eckley, is also a redshirt freshman. He's played 1 game. He had 1 punt for 41 yards. He's going to get more of a chance this year. So again, Antonio Gates Jr., the first one I want to circle here. As we continue at looking at other potentially freshmen that have potential to play this year in the Big Ten, you know, Luke Altmaier is transferred in from Ole Miss as the quarterback at Illinois. He's not a freshman. They're all set there. But his backup is redshirt freshman Donovan Leary, who was a 3-star player out of high school. So that's a look at Illinois. The other team I'm really intrigued about with their young players is Nebraska. Matt Rule's really getting it done there. They have a tight end. He's a redshirt freshman, Janaran Bonner. He was a 4-star recruit out of high school, but he's huge. He was a receiver. They're going to make him a tight end now. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. And I think he is going to see the football a lot this year. He's another one I want to circle back with and put this when I shorten this list of who's really going to be impactful. But also at Nebraska, they've got a couple of true freshmen up front on the defensive line. They have a defensive end, Princewell Amon Mullen, 6'4", 230 pounds, out of Austin, Texas. Had 21 sacks in his last 2 years of high school. He got offers from Florida, Ole Miss, TCU, Utah, and Washington. And his brother plays defensive line for Florida. So he's decided to come to Nebraska, make his own name for himself. A lot of schools wanted him. You know, he's just 230 pounds to be on the defensive line. It's a little light. Might need to beef up a little bit, might get pushed around a little bit this year, but as he progresses, keep an eye on him. We'll probably be talking about him next year or the year after for sure. Same thing with his teammate, defensive tackle Cameron Lenhart. He's from Staten Island, New York, played in Florida at the IMG Academy. Michigan State and Penn State wanted him, very much sought after. So those 2 guys on the defensive line for Nebraska, look for them. They're going to play, but look for them to maybe really start excelling next year. But go back to that tight end, Bonner. That's a guy that I think is really going to be an important part of their offense this year. Minnesota has a linebacker. He's going to start as a redshirt freshman, Joey Gerlach. He's only 200 pounds, and he needs to put on some weight. He had a couple of uncles play for Minnesota, kind of a legacy there, but he's going to be in the lineup this year, Joey Gerlach at Minnesota. Here's another freshman I want you to keep an eye on this year. Indiana redshirt freshman, transfer quarterback, Taven Jackson. Yes, he is the brother of former basketball player at Indiana, Trace Jackson Davis, who is now with the Golden State Warriors. He is going to be under the spotlight because of his name there at Bloomington, and they really need him to step up at quarterback. They are really young at quarterback at Indiana, and he just played 3 games backing up Hendon Hooker at Tennessee before deciding to come back. He went to Center Grove in Indianapolis, and he wanted to come back to Indiana after his brother had such a great experience there. Also protecting him, left tackle Carter Smith is a redshirt freshman, 6'5", 305, played in 2 games as a true freshman last year, going to get a lot more experience this year under fire. And Indiana has been steady at kicker for years, and now they have a true freshman kicking, Nicholas Radicic from Coppell, Texas. So that's going to be an important part of the Indiana offense. Purdue, Ryan Walters actually takes over a team that is experienced and pretty good. No freshman really slated to crack the starting lineup there. Hudson Card, of course, is their transfer quarterback from Texas. If he should have problems or go down, his backup is a redshirt freshman, Bennett Meredith from Arizona State. Also, the secondary at Purdue has a couple of redshirt freshman transfers in Anthony Brown and Braxton Myers. Brown is from Arkansas. Myers is from Ole Miss. And again, Ryan Walters, a former defensive coordinator at Illinois, has an eye for defensive players. So we'll see how that works out for them. Maryland, Jordan Phillips is a nose tackle, a redshirt freshman transfer from Tennessee. Played in 3 games for the Vols. Now he's going to go play for Maryland. And Rutgers, you know what? Greg Schiano's got a pretty experienced team here. Not a lot of freshmen are going to be cracking this lineup this year. Their punter and holder, Flynn Appleby, is a redshirt freshman. That's about it. And finally, Northwestern. What a rough couple of days they've had there. But Nick Herzog, their left guard, is a redshirt freshman. He's 6'4", 300 pounds. He was first team All-State in Kansas in high school, and he's gonna play early. So blowing through all the teams there, there's a handful of guys with each team that are going to play or maybe on the verge of playing. But to kind of recap it, there's really 3 players that I think can be impact freshmen this year in the Big Ten. That's Antonio Gates Jr., the receiver at Michigan State. That's Janaran Bonner, the tight end at Nebraska, and Taven Jackson, the quarterback at Indiana. 3 impact freshmen this year in the Big Ten. What do you think? I'd love to hear from you. Hit me up on Twitter at Talk Big Ten or comments here on the YouTube page. So now that we've looked at the freshmen this year that we expect to have big years in the Big Ten, we're going to have some fun in a minute. We're going to go back in time. I've highlighted 5 players from the past that had outstanding freshman years. The 5 greatest freshman years in recent history in the Big Ten. That's all coming up on Locked On Big Ten. You know, coaches trying to find freshman players that will fit in and help a team become a championship team. It's the same thing when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. And as far as all their parts that you can order, you can head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure that every part you need fits right first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know that the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. And this is very helpful because I know very little about cars, so they are fantastic. Get the right parts, the right fit, the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Excursions apply. All right, let's go back in time a little bit here and take a look at some of the greatest freshmen in the history of the Big Ten. Got a list of 5 guys here. Start out with Chad Henne. Chad Henne at Michigan in 2004 under Lloyd Carr. Completed 60% of his passes, threw for 2,743 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. 9-3 record. They shared the Big Ten title and went to the Rose Bowl and lost to Texas there 38-37. Henne went on to be drafted by the Dolphins in 2008. It was the 57th pick of the draft, second round. Just retired a couple of months ago as a Kansas City Chief. Got his 2nd Super Bowl ring and a nice 15-year career. But it all started with a wonderful freshman year in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Tom Tupa, I know you're going, Craig, you're putting a punter in here. Tom Tupa at Ohio State makes the list in 1984. He set the highest average per punt for a freshman with at least 40 kicks, averaged 47 yards a punt. Ohio State won the Big Ten title that year and went on to the Rose Bowl under Earl Bruce, became a Pro Bowl punter in the NFL, and won a Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2002. Alex Smith makes the list. No, not Utah Alex Smith. Running back, not quarterback, running back Alex Smith in 1994 at Indiana under Bill Mallory. He was just a tough-nosed guy that the fans got behind. He just physical, running into the line of scrimmage, just muscling people out of the way. Ended up getting 1,475 yards and led IU to a 7-4 record. Not a lot of people remember him. He was the UPI Freshman of the Year. Not a lot of people remember UPI either. But he was the Freshman of the Year and then signed as the Colts as a free agent, but he never played it down in the NFL. Also on our list, guard Steve Hutchinson with Michigan in 1997, again under Lloyd Carr. Boy, Lloyd could recruit him, couldn't he? He started out on defense and then redshirted so they could switch to offense. He became an offensive lineman. Started all 12 games his freshman year on a national title team. All Big Ten as a freshman, 4-year starter, All-American, and a 7-time All-Pro in the NFL. And finally, at the top of the list, I think this is the greatest freshman season in the history of the Big Ten. Going to go up to Wisconsin. That's right. Ron Dane, running back in 1996, rushed for 1,863 yards and 18 touchdowns. Adrian Peterson at Oklahoma is the only freshman to rush for more yards. He ended up being the 11th pick in the NFL draft with the New York Giants and played in the Super Bowl. So that's my list of the greatest freshmen. Somebody say, hey, how about Archie Griffin? You know, he got 2 Heismans. He had to be good as a freshman too. He was okay as a freshman. He played 11 games, rushed for 867 yards and 3 touchdowns, but not among the great. He got better as he got older for sure. So that's our list. Going back in time, that was fun. Also, I want to thank you for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen every day. Every dayers. Our next show is going to get ready for the Big Ten Media Days. A couple of days next week coming up. Looking forward to that. Coaches with some great sound bites, discussion, maybe some controversy. You never know. Getting ready for the upcoming season. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube. And by the way, thank you. If you've already subscribed on YouTube, and we've picked up hundreds just in the couple of weeks that we took over this channel, and I'm very appreciative of that. If you already have, feel free to share us. That little arrow and the share button. Share. If you got a friend or a Big Ten alum or somebody you think that would like it, share us with them, and maybe they'll subscribe as well. You can do that. Share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten. And coming up is our next weekly feature. We're going to take a look at some Pigskin Picks. I know we don't have games yet, but I will explain all that coming up on Locked On Big Ten. All right, time for Pigskin Picks. Now, when the season starts, obviously we're going to be picking games. We don't have games yet. We're getting closer. So instead, I piggybacked to our friends at FanDuel and got their odds for Big Ten conference winners. Last week, we did something a little different. We looked at the odds of each team in the all 14 teams of winning a national championship. Obviously, that was a big range, if you will. We're going to dial it back to Big Ten conference winners. And we'll put them on the board here and take a look. You see that Ohio State and Michigan are 1-2. Ohio State is plus 165, according to FanDuel. Michigan plus 185. So pretty neck and neck right there. And plus 165 means $100 gets you 165 if you win. So, you know, Kyle McCord got a lot going on at Ohio State. J.J. McCarthy will be quarterback in this Michigan team, and we'll see where they end up. And they'll probably be fighting it out at the very end for everything. But in gambling, if you want to look for a little bit of a value and not go with what everybody else is going for, look at Penn State at plus 600. I think Drew Aller is going to have a really good year. I think he's going to be in the Heisman mix. James Franklin has just got, just running quarterbacks that are there forever. A lot of continuity. It's a great program for a quarterback. But nonetheless, plus 600, $100 gets you $600 if Penn State should win the conference. I don't think that's crazy. I've been telling you during our football previews that I think Penn State is right up there with Ohio State and Michigan. And who knows if they can split with one of them, who knows? Now, the next two teams on the list, also some added value here. Wisconsin at plus 800 and Iowa at plus 1,100. You might as well sprinkle a little something on that because somebody has to come out of the West and play in the Big Ten Championship. And if you come out of the West and play in the Big Ten Championship, you got a puncher's chance. It can happen. A lot of added value, plus 800 and plus 1,100 for those guys. Everybody else, Vegas says, don't worry too much about it. Minnesota plus 3,000, Maryland at plus 5,000, Illinois plus 6,000, Michigan State and Purdue are plus 12,000, and Northwestern and Indiana are plus 30,000 each. All right. I got another page here for you, and that is the odds, again, according to our friends at FanDuel, of getting to the college football playoff, being one of the four teams. There are two Big Ten teams on this list. I put 6 up here. Georgia at minus money at minus 210. Ohio State plus 115 to get to the Final Four, the college football playoff, and Michigan at plus 125. Look, there's a good chance when you're thinking about it, there might be two Big Ten teams in the Final Four. There may also be two SEC teams in Georgia and Alabama. Alabama coming in at plus 155. Future Big Ten team and current Pac-12 team, USC at plus 230, and Texas, a future SEC team, now with the Big 12 at plus 320. So those are some interesting choices right there. And again, you can double up. And don't forget, in a couple of years, we'll be expanding our way along to 12 teams, and many more teams will be making the playoffs in college football. Well, that was a lot of fun. I appreciate, as always, the time really flies on this, and I always thank you for taking the time and spending part of your day with us here. So thank you for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day. Every day is our next show. We're going to start dialing in on the upcoming Big Ten Media Days. So we're looking forward to all that and invite you to join us there. Tell your friends about us. Many ways in the meantime for you to contact me on Twitter at Talk Big Ten, and also comments here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Now I'm going to invite you to check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast for all the latest on everything going on in sports. In the meantime, inviting you to have a great day. Thanks for checking us out. Talk to you next time. I'm Craig Sheeman on Locked On Big Ten.